joy in my heart, and I want you to call my mother like I usually do. Call my mother, tell her that when I come to her house, henceforth, she has to address me as Her Excellency, okay? She cannot play with me. Alrighty, we're excited to be back. If you're just joining in, you made the right choice. My name is Akushika Lebeni, and you'll be asking why. Well, it's a month of March, and we are celebrating Ghana. And so it's Ghana month to better represent Ghana well. So for the month of March, my name is Akushika Lebeni, all right? But you can find me on social media, Miriam Uduak Mensah. Well, we're about to get into a big conversation. I call it big because this human being has a big heart. She has a big personality. She is just awesome, warm. I mean, guys, Ghana, we're blessed, okay? I'm going to introduce to you this incredible woman. I know you've seen it on social media, but this one we have to do an official welcome to the family, the youngest media house in Ghana, okay? And I'm talking about youngest because we have the youngest team, the youngest people, and I like to reiterate this, okay? Now, before we get into our big conversation this morning, I want to say a big thank you to Telesol Cash. Your money deserves the safest home with Telesol Cash. You are protected every step of the way. No risk, no worries, no long stories, just peace of mind. Dial *110# or download the Telesol Play app today for safe, secure transactions. Telesol Cash, the safer choice. Now, Her Excellency, and I like to call her Excellency with a lot of steeze and composure, okay? Her Excellency Simone Petra, is it Giger? Yes. Giger is a Swiss diplomat currently serving as ambassador of Switzerland to Ghana, Benin, and Togo, based in Accra, and has a head of mission for the Swiss government in these West African countries. She leads Switzerland's diplomatic engagement in areas such as governance, trade, economic cooperation, climate initiatives, and cultural exchange. Of course, Ambassador Simone has played an active role in strengthening Ghana-Switzerland relations, promoting partnerships in governance reforms, economic development, renewable energy, and trade. She has also supported Ghana's constitutional review process and decentralization efforts, reflecting Switzerland's long-standing commitment to democratic governance and inclusive development. She also loves football, by the way. Since moving to Ghana for her diplomatic assignment, she has traveled across several regions of the country to better understand Ghana's cultural, people, and development priorities, by the way. Now, her work has involved collaborating with government institutions, civil society, and private sector actors to deepen bilateral cooperation and create opportunities for both countries. Beyond diplomacy, Ambassador is passionate about women's empowerment, education, cultural exchange, and substantial development, often highlighting the importance of empowering women and supporting youth and local communities through partnership and development. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Simone. Let me get the last
name. What an
name.
introduction.
Giger.
Yes.
Giger. Have you ever been called Ginger before?
Yes, happens.
By Ghanaians.
Happens.
By Ghanaians. Let's establish that.
Absolutely,
but
I'm fine with it.
3 different countries. That's fascinating. But we're going to get into that pretty shortly.
Right.
Let's learn about Ambassador Simone Giger. What's your favorite Ghanaian food?
Oh my God, I have a lot of I have a favorite food in every region.
Okay.
But I really love wassa wassa that they eat a lot in the north. I actually had it last night, and they eat it with a very nice sauce and oils. I think it's palm oil, and then they put fried onion in it. It's it's godly, really. So I love wassa wassa. My favorite snack
I would have never thought about that.
No, it's really nice. I love the 1 Man 1,000 from the Volta region. Then I had Fanti recently that I like.
Fanti is really good. I make good Fanti.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay, good. So I will be the judge of that. Coffee Brokeman whenever I'm on a road trip, so that's my go-to food.
Gracious.
And then banco with everything. I like.
With pepper, soup, any type of soup.
Like I always eat. Yeah. So, but I think banco is my favorite staple.
Favorite?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do in Ghana?
My favorite thing to do in Ghana, oh my God, I really like to venture out whenever I can. So I love Accra, don't get me wrong, there's many things, and I like the cultures like scene here, so I like to do things in Accra. But when I get the chance, I really want to go out and see. There's so much more to Ghana than just Accra. So whenever I leave, I'm like, oh, wow, I should do this even more often. So I think that, and each time it's a new experience. So, and something new to discover. I think I could stay here for 20 more years, and I would still have, like, places to see, like food to discover, things to learn. So that's really the beauty of Ghana, the diversity of it all.
No, love that for you. Because a lot of Ghanaians do not even know the things that I've never had wasa wasa before in my entire life. I've heard about it.
Oh my God.
Never had it. Never
I should have brought you like the leftovers. I mean, you can still eat it like next day.
So this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to make you great Fante, and then you will
and
give
I
me
bring the wasa wasa. No,
Deal. Thank you so much. You actually
okay,
good
yes.
business.
I will not prepare the wasa wasa though. You don't want
worry.
that to
As long as
happen.
you give it to me, it's from your kitchen. I'm going to make that one for you. Now let's tone it down a little bit and come back into your journey to diplomacy.
Yeah.
By the way, she speaks a lot of football because just she just had a great conversation with our football journalist here, and I was like, oh my gosh, she knows football. Okay, I like it. She knows the names. I like to met up the names of footballers here on the show every single time I have to do the sports.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm always destroying their names.
No, but it's one thing I love about Ghana, that everybody's into football. Like, I really do like football.
No, we will go and watch so that we understand.
But it's not, okay. I don't understand either, but I always have an opinion, you know? So like...
As a diplomat, you need to have an opinion.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your journey into diplomacy.
Yeah.
And then finding yourself on this part of the world, this continent, Africa, and you're doing such an incredible job. Run us through that journey to becoming a diplomat.
For me, it's actually the absolute opposite of like a straight way into diplomacy. And maybe I really have to go back to my childhood when, a long time ago, we still had like, at high school, we had like a professional orientation, right? Where you could look into like future professions.
Yes.
And I remember I was looking into diplomacy. And at that time, you had folders with like documents. And I opened the folder. I think I read like 2 pages. I'm like, I closed it again. I gave it back. I said, like, not for me. Like, I decided because I felt like diplomacy was something very rigid, very, was something, where you couldn't really apply your creativity. So I really felt diplomacy is not something for me.
Not for you.
And I did actually start my career in microfinance. So and then for like more than 10 years, I was really in international development, working in different countries. But diplomacy, because I advanced quite fast into management positions, and I was working actually for the Swiss Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so I had to represent Switzerland abroad. And it was like, and I realized, oh, this is actually fun. It's actually not what I imagined. And I also realized that I could be my own person. It's not, I think diplomacy has really changed from when I was a child to now. Now it's a lot of, people-to-people diplomacy, a lot of interactions. Also, as I said, with cultural actors, with civil society. So it's not only, the dry conversations, although I have to say here in Ghana, none of the conversations are dry, even your average politician, there's always something to joke about. It's always lighthearted. So for me, Ghana, this is my first ambassadorial position, and I feel I'm extremely blessed that I could, as an ambassador, right? So Ghana is my first posting, and I think it's absolutely the best posting because you always find people that are willing and able to share information with you. As I said, it's always interesting, entertaining. So there's never a dull day, And even after 4 years, I still get to know new people. It's not that I feel I know everyone. So no, it's super exciting to be an ambassador in Ghana.
And what was the most defining moment or season for you on this journey of becoming, because this is your first posting, and you're overseeing 3 different countries. Tell me how that is.
It's not easy, especially since you're not a super big embassy. So each time, I wished I had more possibilities to delegate, because each time I go to Benin or Togo, I'm like in a rush and I'm like, oh, I have to come back, or like my inbox will just explode, or, you know, like it's difficult because, you want to do justice to all three countries, but in a way you cannot. And obviously the fact that I'm based in Ghana means that I spend most of my time and my efforts here. But I really try to keep up close relations, at least with some key actors in the other two countries, and go there 2 to 3 times a year. Oh, wow. Yeah, but maybe about the most defining moment, and that's also something I was thinking about that, you know, because it's different moments, you know, that when you look back that were important. But when I was actually appointed by my government to be ambassador to Ghana. And I didn't know until the day when they published it, right? You never know. You know, the night before, someone can say, oh, we have a better candidate. So anything can happen until the moment it's actually published. Oh. And the day it was published, it was a Friday before Christmas in 2021. And I couldn't tell anyone, like, except for my close family. No one knew that I would be appointed because it was not certain. And the day that the publication went out, like, I got hundreds of calls and emails, and everybody was like, what the heck is happening? And so much, like, positive feedback and outpouring of joy, and, like, just also a lot of my, especially female colleagues, you know, saying like, wow, this is so cool. And I believe that was for me like probably most defining moment so far. And especially feeling like the community. So it's not a competition. There were people who really were happy. And you know, when you're in the foreign service, like becoming an ambassador is like the last mile. Some people serve for their entire careers. They never become ambassadors. So there's also quite a fierce competition. And I was not actually the most senior, or I was not waiting. That's why everybody was so surprised. So a lot of people could have said, why her, not me? Yes. But I didn't get that. People were genuinely happy for me. And that was like, oh, wow, we are a nice family, you know, in the Swiss diplomatic service.
Love that. Did you know about Ghana before the posting?
A bit. One of good friends of mine is married to a Ghanaian. So I did a bit do my due diligence. But of course, she had a preconceived, you know, like, because she, like, through her husband, obviously had a big admiration for the country. Yes, I did some due diligence, but I definitely was not an expert at all.
At all?
Not at all.
You had to learn on the job.
I had to learn on the job, yes.
Was that difficult?
No, yes and no. Like, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But it was not difficult because of Ghana. Well, except for the climate and the weather. Like, I always said, I love Ghana from day one. Ghana didn't love me back at all. Like, I honestly, I hate, like, that. I got sick all the time. I got all the infections. Any kind of disease under the sun,
no.
like, so yes, so that
Ghana
was hard. Ghana rejected me. You know, I'm good now. I got to just say,
but pause. You know,
exactly.
Before you become great, you have to go
the
through
resilience. So that was hard. Like being physically not 100% there, then being a first-time ambassador. Basically, the entire management team of the embassy changed, so we were all new. We all had to learn on the job. There was no one really to ask, you know. So it was a process, but I think it made me learn very fast. And at the end of the day, it served me well. So I'm definitely not complaining.
Not complaining at all.
Not at all.
And then now you've made the decision to even spend 20 more years here.
I will certainly be coming back in the next 20 years from time to time. This I can promise.
Yes. We'll find you a house here that will be your private house by the beach. You don't like the beach?
I do like the beach. I prefer Avery because the air is a bit cooler. You know, I say I adjusted to the climate, but
really
not 100%. But still.
Right. But what would you say are the key areas of cooperation between Switzerland and Ghana?
So we actually do have quite a vast area of cooperation. We were among your top 3 trade partners in the past few years. That is mostly because of gold. You know, the basically all the gold from the large-scale mines goes to Switzerland for refining. And then some of the cocoa obviously also ends up in Switzerland. So trade, and we also have a substantial number of Swiss companies investing here, around 70. So for a small country like Switzerland, we're almost on par with like France and Germany and other countries. So a lot of investment. So private sector, I try to engage with them quite a lot. Then political relations, we do annual political consultations. Next ones will take place in Accra this May. We started engaging more with Ghana in the field of democracy. That's part of our foreign policy, and we selected a few countries worldwide where we say, like, you know, these are like-minded countries, so it's not about democracy promotion as it was understood in the past, but it's more like, let's work together in cooperation to make sure that, like, our democracies remain resilient. And Ghana was actually singled out as one of the countries on the African continent with whom we are now working very closely. And we have recently launched a cooperation with Parliament. And I was really advocating for working a lot with the Women's Caucus, with the Youth Caucus, so really engaging the next generation of leaders. And it's all about consensual decision-making. You know how here the party landscape is very split. It's like, if you're for something, I have to be against it, but only because you're for it, and I'm in a different party. So what we're trying to promote is like, no, you know, there are certain things that are in the national interest. So if it's common sense to be for something or against something, let's say Galamsey, like the party should come together and say, like, this is in the national interest, so we go beyond
the politics.
The politics. Sorry, but I'm like detouring because I'm very passionate about that. So we work a lot on democracy strengthening, constitutional reform, decentralization. We have a very large cooperation project. We work on different value chains. Again, we were very intentional about selecting value chains where women play a big role. We, in the north, mostly shea, textiles in the south. Then we work also on palm oil, cocoa. A lot of sustainability, environmental projects, electrification, remote island communities. Renewable energies, we have a climate protection agreement, one of the first in, you see, I could go on, we work with the KIPTC on peace and security. So, I mean, any field of interest, like basically at our foreign ministry, we do have a cooperation with Ghana.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's a vast one. And again, like you rightly said, it's a very relatively small country, but your interests are vast, and you're partnering with us on a very large scale. That's impressive, and you're overseeing all of this. We're still talking about women empowerment, by the way. Now, as an aspect, are there any aspect of the Ghanaian culture that you particularly admire?
Again,
I wanted to go back to
I think like the culture, you know, it's really the diversity. And when we say culture, you have on the one hand side, and I'm simplifying, but you have like the traditional culture, right? You have like, of course, you have the traditional chiefs, you have the nice attires, you know, and I think I have actually dresses now from all the regions, you know, I have my fukus, my kentes, like everything. So I love that, right? I love the vibrancy, the food. We talked about food. So even when you travel in Ghana, the food is different in every region. So that's for me also part of culture. The music, I love the traditional music, but then of course you also have this entire contemporary culture art scene, which is absolutely mind-blowing, like the visual arts, you know, some of the most influential artists in the world right now are hailing from Ghana. And, you know, I could probably go to a gallery opening almost every night, right? Or like there's so much going on. And then let me not start talk about Ghana music. I said, like, you know, my playlist, and honestly, it's not because I want to promote Ghana. I'm just into good music. So my playlist, when I do sports in the morning, I think it's like 80% Ghana music. So I'm absolutely in love with your music scene.
And we're going to try to not talk about the who you love.
No. I have a long list of favorites, so let's not go there.
Let's skip that one. Let's skip that part where we talk about your favorite artists.
No.
But I know Can I tell them? It's not coming from you.
No.
I can't tell them. Okay.
No.
What are you going to give for that?
Well, if you don't tell them.
Wasa.
Wasa wasa.
Double wasa.
Double wasa wasa.
Double wasa.
Okay, cool. We do that.
I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Well, do you speak any Ghanaian dialect though?
Oh my God, no.
No?
Well, I tried and I failed.
Which one did you try?
I tried to learn some tree, but then it didn't. Yeah, well.
What happened?
I don't know, but you heard work was too much, and no, but look, maybe I still give it a try. And honestly, I try now when I listen to some of the songs of my favorite artists. Yeah. I do go and try to translate
a lot of
them,
trees, so I think.
Yes.
I think we can do that. I'm still itching to tell them about your favorite artist, but wait.
No.
No, let's come back to this month of March. We have talked a lot about the Ghanaian culture and what we're going to cover a few things. But let's talk about the other essence of the month of March, where we are celebrating women and women in leadership. And there's so many events. Someone told me 2 days ago that he thought it was Accra Women's Year because he was not sure what's happening in the country. Oh my God, everywhere you go, there's a women empowerment project happening. Yes. Now, as a woman in leadership role and obviously in diplomacy, what challenges have you faced as a woman, which you know that this one is only because I'm a woman?
I would have to go back again at the beginning of my career, where I was posted to some countries that were really very traditional and patriarchal. And actually, my very first job, I was working in an all-male team. I was not then I was working in microfinance, but it was really all-male team. I didn't know the language, so it was a Russian-speaking country, so I didn't know Russian that well. And I was really not accepted. They wouldn't talk to me for weeks, right? So I was completely isolated. And so that was hard. That was really hard. But I realized that sometimes it's just a lack of exposure. Because at the end of the day, when they realize I'm only just a human and I'm actually good at what I'm doing and I can do my job and maybe they can even learn something from me once I, my language skills got better, I overcame that. And then later on, I had many situations where I was actually already in management positions. I would go into meetings with men and they would assume that I'm the interpreter, just because I'm the lady. And I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm here the head of the delegation. Please give me a break.
Give me a break.
So I always took it as a compliment. I said, usually interpreters are young, nice looking in certain countries. I'm okay, thank you. Thank you. I try to take it as a compliment, So again, it was just people were not used to have a woman who is maybe even younger than the men in the delegation to be the head. So. But then when we talk about Ghana again, or especially the region, I feel like being a woman may actually help. Don't cite me on that. I still think it's very hard to be a woman in many aspects of life.
Absolutely.
But sometimes also it's an advantage because I get to talk to a lot of other women and I get a different perspective that maybe my male colleagues don't get. At the same time, I'm still obliged to speak to all the men because they occupy most positions in government and in parliament, right? So I feel I get a fuller picture of what Ghana is really about thanks to being a woman.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. You really have used that opportunity of being a woman wisely and very effectively, and I love that for you. I love that. In fact, for us all women, we need more women who understands the role of engagements, right? Now, again, finally on this conversation of women empowerment, watching this platform, and I was telling you earlier that our demography is really young. They're really excited about, occupying leadership. You should see us in the morning on Mondays. The panelists are young men and women who are talking politics like pros.
I love it. I have to watch it. Okay, good. Now I know your channel. I have to watch it, definitely.
I'm telling you, you will be fascinated about the things they know that even people in parliament didn't know.
But everybody in Ghana, your average Uber driver knows. You can talk to anyone about politics, no? I feel like this is fascinating about this country.
Yeah.
Anyone knows politics.
We are aware.
Absolutely.
You're very much aware of what is happening in politics.
Yeah.
And so, watching us this morning, and I've told them that the young women that are watching us will have to pick something from you. What would you tell a young lady watching us this morning who is interested in leadership
diplomacy?
and in diplomacy?
Right. I mean, it's two things, diplomacy and leadership. I believe that for diplomacy, women are actually well equipped. The way how we are raised and educated, we are always, I believe one of the key skills as a diplomat is emotional intelligence, like active listening skills. So a lot is communication, right? But it's also you trying to understand the perspective of the other person, then triangulating, talking to different people. You put that into a report, you form an opinion, then you communicate that to headquarters. So a lot of that, I feel, women are actually not naturally, but by nurture, right? They have all these skills that a good diplomat requires. So I would say, believe in those skills. You need confidence if you want to go into leadership, and that's, I have a lot of conversations also with young women here, right? And they're afraid to speak up, and they're like, but it's also something that that they, like, as a girl, as a lady, you have to behave in a certain way. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, honestly, and it doesn't mean that if you're assertive, you're bossy. Sometimes you're the boss, so you're allowed to be bossy, right? So it's
bit.
like
Much,
but you don't have to scare people. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, if you take the decisions, you have to let people know that you're the one taking the decision. So, and also believe in yourself. Don't think you cannot do it. You try, and if you see you're failing, try to reach out to others, have a support network. As I said, I always had not only I had female and male supporters, and I was always confident because I knew if I was in a new position and I wouldn't know what to do, or I saw that I really, honestly, there was too much on my plate, there are people I could reach out to, and they would give me emotional support, they would give me advice, they would lift me up. So once you have that support network, you feel that the sky is the limit, because there will be always people there that help you out when you need it. And that's maybe really my advice. Try to build that. Try to find the people who really who vouch for you, who believe in you, and then try to really cherish and maintain these relationships throughout your career.
Yeah. That's something that I'm beginning to learn.
Absolutely.
I guess I'm one of those loners, and I kept that at the back of my mind. So I've been introduced to incredible women, but I would always say, okay, maybe not now, maybe some other time. And then you realize that there's a time in your life or your career path that you need one word from such a person to scale up, or to even just do better with yourself. And so we all take this advice seriously. Very seriously. Now, I know you're becoming and your journey. What would you say that will be your most memorable, moments or season in being a diplomat to all these countries?
I don't really do superlatives because there's so many memories that I will retain. Maybe I can just reflect on a few, right? And so, one of my first trips out of Accra took me to the Volta region, and then we took the ferry in Kwando, and we went to Afram Plains. And just being on that ferry, I don't know if you've ever done that on the Volta, and it was just magical.
I was scared the first time, by the way.
And I was just it was in my second or third month, and I was all new, and I didn't know anything, but I just I felt the breeze, and I was looking around. I was like, oh wow, how blessed I am, to have landed in this country. And then my first trip to the north, again, trying wasa wasa for the first time, just exploring.
You love it.
I love it. I love it.
But I've never been.
I have a special, oh my God, everybody should go to the north.
I've never
honestly,
been.
I love I love something in every region in Ghana. But I think with the north, it's different because it is so different. You go there, and I mean, even the climate, it's drier. You have the savanna, it looks different. But then it's really the people. And my explanation is because they don't get to see a lot of foreigners, and especially ambassadors. I've been to places where they say like, oh, you're the first ambassador to ever visit. And then, of course, they are so happy that someone made the effort, you know, to go there. They're so friendly and so welcoming. Yeah, so each time I leave, I'm like, oh, I have to come back, you know. No, I can advise any person watching this show. You know, there are direct flights to either Tamale or Wa. They are not outrageously expensive. So if you ever have the chance to travel there, you will discover an entirely new Ghana.
Oh my God, this is an advice you're giving to me directly.
Yeah, yes.
I'm taking it.
Yes.
I'm taking it.
Yes.
We're going to the north very soon.
Okay, cool.
And that's kind courtesy.
Well, why don't you do a travel kind of show and whatever and show the young people,
so
you
that
know,
I can just be traveling and I have the opportunity to travel then.
Absolutely. See, I'm giving you guys ideas here.
Like, I'm the host. Thank you. Now, let's talk about legacy impact. And with you, what legacy or impact would you like to your tenure in Ghana to leave behind?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Ghanaians like to talk a lot about legacy. I get that question a lot, and I never have a good answer. But
no, I'm sure you have a perfect answer.
No, but I, you know, actually last night we did an iftar at the residence, and we had about 30 Ghanaians, all Muslims, at the residence, and we were celebrating together. And at the end of the night, the spokesperson of the chief imam said, Madam Ambassador, it's really a nice legacy that you're leaving, a legacy of promoting interfaith harmony and inclusion. And I hope that your successor will, you know, carry on that tradition. So that's one thing. I believe I have planted seeds in different areas also, like, you know, in the cultural sphere, again, in the democracy field, here and there. And then for a diplomat, I think the biggest compliment is always when you leave a country, you come back after a few years, and you see you started something, you launched an initiative, and your successor, maybe even the successor of your successor, all deemed it worthwhile to maintain or even lift it to another level. So I think I've planted many seeds. And hopefully my legacy will, that some people will in the future remember, oh, it was like Simone, you know, at the very origin of it. It was her, and that maybe my spirit lives on a bit in these
I love that for you. And I'm glad that we're already telling you what it is that you're doing right. Do you have a Ghanaian name?
Oh, I have many.
Okay, so first you were born when?
Abena.
Abena is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. So Abena. Then I'm Giger. That's in you know Ewe.
Yes.
So Giger. Did I say it right?
Giger, yes.
It's joy.
Joy, yes.
Okay. Then I'm Nasara.
Nasara from the north.
Yeah, this is I think in Hausa it means success.
Success.
And then I'm Ayin Poka. This is in Frafra.
Oh, Ayin Poka.
Ayin Poka is, I think, God's daughter or something like that. Okay. And then I'm also Zosimna in Dagbani. That's like the a development chief.
Oh.
So, see, many names. I don't have a Ga name yet, by the way.
Have a Ga name.
People,
what Ga name should we give to Her Excellency? What? Akushika. Akushika is my name.
It's already taken.
Akushika is already taken. Na Ayoko. Na Ayoko.
Na Ayoko.
What does that even mean? What is Ayoko? Na, I know it's
well, Na is like the Nana. It's like it's Na is like the female form of Ni. It's like a chief.
Yes.
Right? Or the queen mother is Na.
So Na Ayoko is your name.
What is Ayoko?
Please explain Ayoko. I don't know what Ayoko is. Okay, we're going to break it down.
Okay.
But at least let's keep the name now.
Okay. Okay, good. And I'll find out what it. Well, I need to know whether I like it.
Yeah,
Maybe it's something like offensive. Or no.
Every Najele I know is a fighter, so I don't know if I want to give that.
Okay, wonderful. No, that's good. No. I love that. I'm a fighter.
You're a fighter.
I take the Na part. Yes.
Ooh, I like that. We've been having great conversations right here on the platform with Her Excellency Simone Giger, and she has been absolutely amazing, phenomenal. I have enjoyed every bit of the conversation. Now I understand why we need a light-hearted conversation. Like, no more. Right, we'll do that in the office, okay?
Absolutely.
We'll go back to the office and do
I
all
go
the
back and
technical
do
things.
that now.
But
Yes.
right? If your entire life is all of that,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that on television, right? I mean, when the need arrives, we'll do that one.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much
had
for
a great
having
time
me.
yourself.
Me too. Me too.
Awesome.
And we have a deal, huh? Wassa wassa, fanti fanti. Okay.
Listen, when do you want the fanti done?
Well, next week.
Next week. Okay, next week it is. You'll be seeing me cooking and putting together some fanti for Her Excellency Simone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great time. Now, to you out there, I keep telling you that we keep learning and growing on this platform. And today we've got to know about an incredible woman who is not only just starting with Africa, but she's planting her seeds everywhere. Seed of development, seed of in great things. Okay, so I'm just really, really excited about this. And I hope you've learned a thing or two. There's more coming up here on the platform. But thank you for being a part of the show. We'll be back with more. My name is Akushika Lebene. Connect with us on all social media platforms, MX24GH, on all social media platforms. This afternoon, we have a great conversation happening at the Palms Convention. I'm going to be there to be hosting the Youth Expo, organized by Chatterhouse, and it is the Women's Summit and Expo happening today. We're there to empower each other and to learn more to be better adults. Because I'm still 16 years old, as I've told you for this month, and we're going to be having that conversation. Join me, all women, come, let's have a great conversation. I have more coming up on this platform as well, so make sure you don't lose sight of what we're doing here on the platform. Connect with us, again, on all social media platforms, MX24GH. See you again tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow, Monday. All righty.